back to New Day. If you think you've seen fewer orcas in recent years, you're right. Current counts show there are only 76 southern resident killer whales in the Pacific Northwest waters, the lowest number in more than 3 decades. Here with more, please welcome from Orca Conservancy, Scott West. It's good to meet you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
So what's going on? What's happening with the orca population?
Well, when we say orca population here in the Salish Sea area, we have to realize we're talking about 3 distinct different groups.
Okay.
Most normally, we think about the southern resident killer whales. Those are the ones that are iconic to our waters. They're the ones that are federally and state protected above and beyond the other cetaceans. But there's also the northern resident killer whales and the transients that come in and come and go more so than making most of their time here.
Are we tracking all of them?
They all are being tracked. A lot of that tracking falls away when they go out into the ocean, and then they show up in various coastal areas, but there are efforts into tracking where they go and understand.
So we had 6 orcas die in 2017, is that correct? And 4 in 2016. Do we know what caused them?
Well, we believe that it has a lot to do with the health of the individuals. Age certainly with Granny, but the mortality is often linked to the pollutants that show up in their bodies. These are top predators, and so everything they eat has eaten everything else down and it all bioaccumulates. So we have mercury falling out of the sky, getting attached to the lowest levels of the food chain, and then bioaccumulating. Legacy chemicals, DDT, PCBs.
Really? Still?
Oh, well, they don't go away.
Right,
they're still in the environment.
Yeah.
Right. And another thing that people don't really think about is any of the prescription medications that you take, they all end up out in the sound because our wastewater treatment plants aren't designed to pull these chemical compounds out of the water.
What should we be doing with those drugs?
Take them to pharmacies and places that will accept drug removal. But it's not just flushing the unused ones. It's you take them in, they got to go somewhere.
Right, and there they go.
And there they go out, and so we're finding a lot of the forage fish that these animals depend upon are Prozac laden and
seriously,
birth control pill medication.
Isn't that something I guess I'd never
People
really
don't
thought
think
it
about
through. And there haven't been any births in recent years.
Well, there have been in recent years, but nothing recently. And when we talk about the southern residents, there are several things impacting their situation. One, it is going back to the 60s and 70s when the orcas were captured for the entertainment industry. Well, at that time, they were taking young females for the most part. Well, when you take a large section of young females out of a population, you reach a certain point where you don't have that breeding population aspect anymore. Right now, out of the 76 southern residents, probably about 30 are breeding capable, and that's male and female.
So that's less than half. Do we see that getting better as we stop taking these animals?
It's going to take a long time for that to come back. Unfortunately, the southern residents' numbers keep coming down. The northern residents, that's a population that spend a lot of time in primarily northern Salish Sea, BC waters, they're doing a lot better. Their food supply is primarily salmon coming down out of Alaska, which don't have nearly the impacts that we have here. The salmon that the southern residents depend upon are reduced in number. They're on the endangered species list themselves. They're subject to exposure of disease and parasite from the open pen salmon farming that we've seen here in BC and Washington waters. The pollutants, the noise and vessel harassment. What the noise does is makes it difficult for these southern residents to find the few fish that are there. So there's a multitude of problems.
Wow. So how can we help with Conservancy?
Well, there's actually some potential good news coming down the road, and that is that the state legislature, the governor, the state agencies are taking some action now. We're seeing some legislation moving through. We're seeing some of the salmon farm permits being revoked, and maybe further study about whether that should even be allowed in the state, which I would say not. What we can do as citizens and people who care is show our support to these legislators. Let them know that we're behind this legislation. And the piece that corollary that goes with that is enforcement. You can make all the rules and laws in the world, but if they're not being enforced, then it's meaningless.
True.
So we are seeing some resources beginning to flow to WDFW, to NOAA law enforcement, even to the local sheriffs, the Marine Resources Commissions, and we need to show support for that sort of activity. We need to support the prosecutors who bring cases against flagrant violators. And the laws I'm talking about have to do with the mandated standoff distances. If you are a commercial whale watch operator or a private boater, there are certain standoff distances that you have to maintain from these whales, and there's a financial incentive to come in close. Right. There's just the personal attraction between humans and cetaceans. I've seen this all over the world with whales and dolphins and orcas. They want to get near us, we want to get near them.
And it's not a good thing.
Well, but we're loving them to death is what we're doing.
Yeah. Is there anything we can do in terms of what we buy or not buy? Does it matter what kind of salmon we buy, for example?
Well, I would certainly discourage any farm salmon, because that practice is hugely destructive to the environment and to the native salmon populations. If you're going to buy salmon, I'd suggest buy wild-caught salmon from Alaska. And
I'm in. I'm down for that. Thank you very much for the update. And we'll look up some of the legislation and post it on our website so people can take a look at that. But
thank you.
Thank you very, very much for the work you do. We have linked more information online about Orca Conservancy, so please check it out and see how you can help preserve orca populations near us and everywhere, really. Still ahead, how to keep emotional eating from derailing your healthy habits after this break.